Welcome back to Hockey North. I'm your host, Karissa Donkin, and guess what? We've got some regular season PWHL hockey to talk about. All 8 teams in action this past weekend. I'm just getting back from Vancouver, where we saw the Goldeneyes and the Torrent play their very first game, and guess who I was there with? It's Hailey Salvian from The Athletic. Hailey, you made it back from Vancouver. How are we doing? Can we get a vibe check?
I'm a little sleepy, I won't lie. I did make it back, and I'm that like giant baby who's like, wow, my body thinks it's 3 hours earlier than it is. Wow.
Yeah. My body's
gonna sleep
confused,
in.
We're getting there. We're getting
Yeah.
there. But, you know, it was a good trip. Personally, I really love checking out Pacific Coliseum. It might be my favorite rink that I've watched a PWHL game in yet. And that says a lot because I am admittedly a huge fan of the Verdun Auditorium in Montreal.
Oh, yeah.
But the rafters in Pacific Coliseum, and also just, you know, getting to see a PWHL team have its logo at center ice, have their own store, seeing, you know, Sophie Jakes' face on a pillar, like that was just so cool. What did you think of the rink there, Hailey?
Yeah, I think it was awesome because it kind of reminded me a little bit of Coca-Cola Coliseum, just in the sense that it's like an older barn. It feels like the right size. The acoustics are great. When fans pack it in, it just feels like you're almost on top of the players. And I think all the renovations they did looked unbelievable. The center ice logo is unbelievable. Like, that is such a cool and obvious statement. But like everything else underneath that in the back of house is like, it's Goldeneyes everywhere, and it's incredibly cool. I loved it. It was Sarah Nurse said it after the game, but like that's gonna set the standard now.
Yeah. And I think, you know, for folks listening at home, that might not seem like a huge deal to have your logo at center ice, or to have, you know, your colors around the rink, or to have your own team store. But like, that has not been done before in women's hockey. This is the one and only PWHL team to be an anchor tenant of an arena. And like you said, Hailey, I think this is the standard going forward. That is the goal. It's, you know, maybe not going to happen in every single arena they play in, but that was a huge selling point for Vancouver.
They literally rolled out a purple carpet to welcome them to the Pacific Coliseum. Like, they really wanted a team, and glad they did, because the arena was gorgeous and the vibes were unbelievable. Like, we were both there for game day. It was the loudest women's hockey game I've ever been to, and I've been to like World Championship gold medal games. I didn't go to the Bell Center game, so maybe that disqualifies me. Like, I kept turning to the people sitting beside me at the game being like, I think I'm gonna have a panic attack. It's like so loud in here that my heart rate I was like the old man being like, it's really loud.
Yeah, I was getting like your hearing is in danger alerts from my phone. But it was an awesome environment, and I think would have been up there in terms of loudness with that Bell Center game. I was at that game in the first season. It was comparable. All 8 teams in action this weekend. So let's stay on Vancouver, Seattle first. Abby Boreen, got to talk about her. She puts up 7 shots on the night. Obviously, she's the overtime hero. What a cool moment to witness in Pacific Coliseum. You know, but the first thing, obviously, that stands out about Vancouver to me is, you know, they're fast, they're skilled. I think Brian Nadolski, their head coach, said it best after the game. It doesn't take long to see that they can skate. I would say, to me, they were every bit as advertised.
Yeah, I think so. I think that was my big takeaway, like probably in the first period, is like, oof, they are fast. And we talked about it last week, Karissa. I think we both thought Vancouver was, if not the best, they'd be number 2 in the PWHL this season, just based on the skill that they got and the roster that Cara Gardner Morey put together. But yeah, I think they looked really fast. I thought the game, like, it felt like there were times where I was like, are they on the power play right now? Like, they really tilt the ice. Obviously, Seattle had their own swings or extended periods of time in the offensive zone themselves, and we can talk about the Torrent in a bit, but I thought Vancouver was really impressive, and it was their first game after an expedited training camp, and it was like, they're gonna only get better from here. They've got a ton of scary weapons, and during preseason, like, and Brian said it when we were talking to him after practice, like, these coaches really tried to like aggressively not show their hand. Like the lines we saw in preseason, they were like, we'll maybe have a couple duos together, but we're not trying to show you what we're doing. And Barine had not typically been in a top line or a top 6 role, and seeing her go out and cook in a top situation is great because she has like all the skill in the world, and if she's put in that situation to succeed with offensive zone time, with offensive line mates, like that's the kind of game you're going to see from Abby Barine. 7 shots on goal, nobody had more in that game, and again, it's just the first game on a brand new team, so she's an exciting player to watch this season.
And it felt like she was just like, it was like rush chance after rush chance with her. Like I haven't seen the numbers of how many rush chances she had, but it felt like every time, like every 3 seconds, she was on like a rush to the net, which is like totally her game. But that was really fun to see. Seattle now talking about, you know, not showing your hand, like Julia Gosling ends up getting played on the first line. She's somebody who, you know, we've been talking about her for a long time as having kind of the physical skill set to be like a Natalie Spooner-esque player. Like obviously she's got the size. We've seen Team Canada like plunk her in front of the net in kind of a similar role. So it feels like we've been waiting for a long time for that to come out. But the part of her game that I think we don't talk about enough is her shot. And I remember Natalie Spooner saying this because they trained together in the summer. She's got a better shot than I do. And I think that was on full display in this game.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised to see her on the line with Knight and Carpenter, because everything we'd seen and heard, like it was going to be the Knight, Carpenter, Bilka line, and then like a bigger second line was Serdachny and Gosling and Jesse Eldridge, and that was such a great combo. And I think Julia Gosling is someone who's going to have a huge season in the PWHL. I think she's got like big breakout candidate written all over her, not just because of her line mates, but the situation she's going to be in. Like we often saw her up and down the lineup in Toronto last season, 4th line, 3rd line, not playing a ton of minutes. I think she really found her game in the playoffs, which was reason to be really optimistic about her, and which is what made her getting taken in expansion so devastating, is like you saw the potential. But she obviously struggled at 5-on-5 last year. Most of her production was on the power play. And then she comes out with that big shot. Like Hillary Knight was very complimentary of it the other day too, based off of your question in the scrums, and comes out and scores 2 5-on-5 goals in her first game this season after struggling to score at even strength last year. So someone with like a ton of breakout potential, good size, great shot, like pro skater. Like she's got a pro toolkit, and she's someone to watch in the PW, and also if she rises for Team Canada this year for me.
Yeah, huge year for her, I think, to kind of like show what she can do. But earlier in the night, we saw the Toronto Sceptres take down the Minnesota Frost on the night that they raised their championship banner. I kind of love this Toronto-Minnesota rivalry, though I feel like everybody has a rivalry with everybody else in the PWHL because there are only 8 teams. But anyway, I love the Toronto-Minnesota rivalry in particular, and I thought this was a really big character win for Toronto, particularly being without Renata Fast. Obviously, Ella Shelton, her first game as a Scepter, you know, had her first goal. She was active, led the team in ice time. I thought Savannah Harmon had a really solid game defensively. But for me, Hailey, I thought Toronto's first star in that game was Reagan Kirk. And, you know, going into the season, we talked last week about, you know, how they've got Elaine Shuley and Reagan Kirk. Are you going to be like a 1A, 1B? Is it going to be like a tandem situation? I think Troy Ryan has talked about how, you know, he's going to go with kind of who has the hot hand. And right now, to me, Reagan Kirk is looking like a starter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had moments of seeing that last season too, right? Like even when Kristen Campbell was like healthy, or we saw Reagan Kirk have to take the reins quite often last season before she was injured. So yeah, I thought she was great. She got the did you see the jacket that the Scepters made with the raccoon on the front and
so
all the stars in the sleeves? Apparently Renata Fast made it. So I think, yeah, there was a lot to like about the Scepters. I think that's a team who could have like a different MVP on any given night. Like this is a roster that is built to have whoever from wherever in the lineup step up in any given game. Yes, it was Reagan Kirk. It was like Kira Zanin or Ella Shelton. Like they've got depth. They're not going to have the same like top heavy. It's not going to be like year one where it's like Natalie Spooner is doing it all for us, or last year where it's like Renata Fast is doing it all for us. And if they started the season or missed Renata Fast for a single game last year, that's a guaranteed loss. And the fact that they missed Renata Fast in this first game and still won just speaks to the depth that they have on the blue line this season. Ella Shelton is obviously a big part of that. I think for my money, they have 2 of the top 5 defenders in the women's game on their team. And I mean, I can just say it. I voted Renata Fast for MVP last season. Like if they did not have her in a game, they were going to lose. Like I cannot, I cannot state that enough, like how critical she was to that roster. They lost a lot, but there's still a lot to like there. I've got to ask you about this because this game started while I was at the airport, so I missed a bunch of it. The New York Ottawa game. Crazy. Devastated that I was flying back from Vancouver while this was happening.
That was pretty chaotic. I mean, first of all, to have a goal, called off for too many players on the ice, not ideal. Now, you have to give Ottawa a bit of grace there in the sense that it's the first game of the season. They had a ton of turnover. You're still kind of figuring stuff out, but like that's a really tough blow to absorb. And then on that power play, they had this golden chance later in the first period when Micah Zandy Hart gets thrown out of the game. In my opinion, that wasn't really a game misconduct. Curious to hear what you think about that, Hailey. To be honest, I kind of didn't hate what Micah Zandy Hart was doing there. Like, obviously, you don't want to see people get cross-checked in the face, but it's a young team. She's their captain. She's coming out and sort of setting the tone. I actually didn't mind that. But for Ottawa being on the power play, like it felt like particularly during that, I think it ended up being like a 3.5 minute advantage. They couldn't seem to like make a pass in the zone. Like it felt very disconnected. So for me, it feels like with Ottawa, you see that kind of skill that kind of went out the door. Like they're really missing Ashton Bell on the blue line, in my opinion, or even like a Teresa Venisheva. A lot of reliance on Jocelyn Larocque. I think she played 27 minutes in that game.
Which is what didn't work last year for her. Like that was the selling point of Jocelyn Larocque in Ottawa is like, we don't have to play her 27 minutes like Toronto does. It's like, well, now you do, unfortunately.
Yeah. It's not sustainable. And also losing Taylorlova to Seattle. That's a huge loss. So for me, I think a little bit of puck movement on the blue line is really what Ottawa is missing. But, you know, Gwyneth Phillips had a fantastic game, and I think she made 38 saves, but they still go down 4-0. So I don't know. It's a lot of work to be done in Ottawa, in my opinion.
Yeah, I wonder what the score of that game would have been without Gwyneth Phillips. Yeah, that's just going to be that's the formula for them this year. Unfortunately, is you're going to have to hope that your goalie keeps you in it, and like this was a 4-0 loss with a hat trick from a bottom 6 forward from the team that finished last back-to-back seasons. Am I ready to say that the New York Sirens are going to be unbelievable this season? No, I think they were just playing the Ottawa Charge.
Yeah.
I feel bad. It's not great. To your point, they lost a lot, and the whole like grind out wins and lock them down thing is only going to work if you're not allowing 41 shots against your superstar goalie. Like that is not sustainable. Like it's going to take them some time to figure out what this team looks like this year, because they clearly can't play the same. And look, I'm not trying to overreact to one game, but this is also what we've been looking at in the preseason as this roster's been put together. And Ottawa fans are obviously going through a lot with their arena right now too. So I feel bad piling on, but like, they don't have the skill or the defensive depth to do either of the things they did really well last year as well. And it's going to be difficult for Gwen Phillips to be an MVP candidate if she's facing 41 shots a night. Cause like you're just, and a bunch of some of the goals that Taylor Girard scored were on like second or third opportunities. Like they were not clearing pucks out of the crease.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like all 3 of those Girard goals were kind of around that crease area. And just like, if
this
that's
wasn't Sarah Fillier deking around everyone and going bar down on Gwen Phillips. This was just a mess in front of the net.
Yeah.
Which is something that Ashton Bell and Jocelyn Larocque were very good at together as a D pair.
Yes, 100%. Yeah. And then the 4th game of the weekend, Hailey, we had Montreal and Boston, another rivalry I like. To To me, I thought the big addition here that really shined was Hailey Wynn. Just like that puck movement on the blue line, having her and Megan Keller together, especially on the power play, is like a cheat code. It almost seems unfair to everybody else. Two really smart defenders who can move the puck. And we also heard Boston head coach Chris Barr talking about Hailey Wynn's defensive ability too. Like we talk about her shot, and we talk about like how smart she is as a playmaker and her ability to move the puck, but he thought she was really good defensively as well. What are your first impressions of Boston?
I think that win was a great example of like what to expect from the Boston Fleet this season. They've got elite talent at the top of the lineup. Susanna Tapani scores the first goal of the year. Of course she does. I went on my little tirade last week. I think she's criminally underrated. One of the best players in the league. And then you've got an elite number one goalie in Erin Frankel, who's going to out-battle any goalie she's up against on a given night, right? Like, I think we can have the debate between Frankel and Desbiens, who's the best goalie in the world right now. But, like, I still think it's Desbiens, but Frankel has shown the ability to, like, out-duel her head-to-head for club and country. So you've got Erin Frankel doing her thing. And then you've got Megan Keller and Hailey Wynn as your top pair. Like, that right there is enough for me. And then you throw in Alina Mueller and Ella Hubert. Like, that's a nice top six. You've got nice top end talent at the forward position. You've got an unbelievable top pair and arguably the best goalie on the planet. If their depth is not great, like, they might be fine. Like, that might be okay if Frankel can make 26 saves a night and your top pair can score and bring elite two-way ability on a given night. I think you're going to be okay. Are they going to make the playoffs? I don't know. I realized last week that I probably had like 5 playoffs teams, and I was like, oh wait, only 4 teams make the postseason. I was like, everyone looks pretty good. I don't know. I think they'll all be there.
It's funny because the last 2 seasons, Hailey, with Boston, I kind of went into the season being like, okay, you know, the first season I was like, Boston's the best team on paper. They're going to be number one. And then you see them and you're like, it's not quite working out. And then last season I was like, yeah, but I think they're going to be a lot better. And didn't quite work out. And then this season I'm like, you're not going to fool me this time. But actually watching them last night, I was like, okay, you know what? I think that like Boston has had trouble scoring the last 2 seasons. And you can just see how that kind of like distribution with a Megan Keller and a Hailey Wynn on the back end could kind of change things. And it does make me wonder, like, do you split them up at some point? Like, is it almost too much to have them playing together?
I think ideally they are great together as a top pair. It's going to largely depend on if their number 2 through 6 or 3 through 6 defenders can like handle their own pairs themselves. You know, like, I think the Boston Fleet probably want those 2 to be together. But if Hadley Hartmetz struggles or Ryland McKinnon struggles or Daniela Pejova struggles, you might have to split them up to spread the love and give yourself like 2 waves of elite defenders coming out. But I think in a perfect world, those 2 are together because that is like arguably the best deep pair in the league.
Yeah. And now when we're talking about Montreal, it felt like, I mean, this is a team, again, that had a lot of turnover in the summer, still kind of just like figuring things out. I'm not super concerned about Montreal yet. Obviously a great game from Desbiens. The weird thing for me was, 14 minutes in penalties, Poulin takes 2 minor penalties on the same shift, which is like the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
6 pims for
like, it was weird.
Game 1's kind of hilarious.
Well, yeah, like, you don't really want your captain to be taking those sort of unnecessary stick penalties, but so weird because there's a delayed penalty and then she takes another. Like, I've just never seen that before. That was such a
hooking
weird...
and tripping both at 16:50. Like, how? So which one was it? Did she do both at the? So she hooked someone, and then she tripped someone.
Like a few seconds later. Like, it was, I just have never seen that before. That was just so bizarre to me. And obviously you don't want your captain sitting in the box. So, but I'm not worried about Montreal. Like,
no, unfortunately I don't have like big grand takeaways. Like, it wasn't a great game. I thought they lacked some urgency. I was just like, Desbiens showed up and that was kind of it. I was like, because I don't want to freak out. I think their roster's great. It's not great for a podcast for me to be like, they didn't have a great game, but like, I don't care.
They'll be fine. I'm not worried about Montreal. I'm not worried. Hailey, I had the chance to sit down this week with Cara Gardner Morey, the GM of the Goldeneyes, the woman who built this roster that's looking pretty good so far. Here's what she had to say. All right, it's Cara Gardner Morey. We've got the GM of the Vancouver Goldeneyes, the newest Canadian PWHL team. Welcome, Cara. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. We're on our first road trip, so learning as we go.
Very cool. Well, it's been a couple days now since your record-breaking home opener. I was lucky enough to be in the arena for that. What was your favorite part of that night?
Oh my gosh. It was actually super emotional for me. The beginning on the bench, just like looking at the crowd from that level as the players were coming out, seeing the fan response, hearing the fan response, the introductions, all the way through the game. I mean, there was lulls throughout where you could look around and say, wow, this is happening. But then the finish, I think one of the biggest things for me is when the overtime goal went in and the place erupted and I looked around and then like no one was leaving and they were just staying there and the fans were staying there and like it wasn't emptying and they were just staying and staying. Like I think everyone was trying to soak in the moment.
But this was also your first real glimpse, Cara, the team that you've built from scratch. Of course, it's one thing to see the list of players on paper that you've put together. It's another thing to see them in practice at training camp, but then you got to see it all come together on the ice. Can you just sort of paint us a picture of where you were when Sarah Nurse scored that first goal in your franchise history, and how did that feel?
Yeah, I was actually pretty close. So my seats were kind of in the corner up above the net that she scored in. And again, it's like I've also never watched the game like not from a bench when I've been involved. So like that was different. But it was like basically right below where I was sitting. And it was like I didn't know how I'd be so affected by it going in. Like it felt different. It felt like, a proud mom that sees their child do something special for the first time. And then again, when the crowd erupted, like it's still, I get a little bit teary because like we've been fighting for this stuff like decades and I just didn't think I'd ever see it happen in my career for sure. So it sort of validated everything that we thought it could be and was always told like, no, like there's no market. The product's not good enough. And then to see it happen and to see the fans erupt, it was sort of like proud, but also like validation and this like sort of relief of like, we knew we could do this and it just took time.
Yeah. And Sarah Nurse said after the game that, she's played in a ton of big games in her career, but nothing really matched the emotion of that first period, whether it's seeing the logo at center ice, which is something, we've never seen before, or even just like having your own team shop. The way she described it is we are the priority and we've never been the priority before. And kind of what you're saying, Cara, you were a player as well back in the NWHL, right? And how has it changed since those days?
Like it's exactly that. Like it's always like we were secondary, right? Like it was like, yeah, you guys can do this, but right after the men go, or you guys can have this space that the men used to use. And it's never been, the focus has never been on us and our actual game. And so to see it happen and to see people respond in that way, like the merch lines going out the doors and like just everybody saying, yes, we want this. It's still like, again, it gives me goosebumps. It brings tears to my eyes because like you fight. You're told, no. You're kind of pushed kind of to the side, or like, it's always felt like sort of like, okay, we'll appease you for now. But like, I think that's what made it feel different. Like people finally put like seeing the pillars in the Coliseum wrapped with pictures of our players, like our players' faces were on there and you were like, this is legit. And people responded being like, yeah, we wanted it, instead of like, oh, that was fun, let's go somewhere else.
It's obviously just your, first game 1 in 30 this season. But what did you think about what you saw on the ice? And was there anything that surprised you?
Oh, well, actually, you saw a lot of nerves on the ice. I do realize now when Sarah Nurse makes those comments, like to me, a lot of those have played in like I guess Olympic games would be like an equivalent. They've played in the PW, so I didn't expect them to have nerves, but I guess after you hear Sarah, that game did feel different. So to me, like the whole first half looked like they were still like a little bit nervous playing in that environment. I hope we recreate it so it becomes normal. But the on ice product, like, yeah, that was game one. There was actually a lot of like, there's a lot that we're going to get better at. I just think it was awesome that it was entertaining for the fans, but like that group had barely played together. So it's going to look very different from where it was on Friday night to where we are at the end of the season.
And just before that game, you named your leadership group, including your first captain, Ashton Bell. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was about her leadership that stood out and what makes her a good fit to be your first captain?
Yeah. So I've known Ashton for a little while through Hockey Canada when she was younger. She switched positions. Like she was a forward when I first had coached her with the national team and then switched to defense, and just knowing her personality over the years, you just knew she was one of those great. She's not the loudest voice in the room, but she's a pro and she's always doing things the right way. She's thinking about her teammates. She's thinking about the team. And she was the reason why she was also my first choice in expansion. Not just her play on the ice, but I knew her leadership qualities away from the rink. So we have a lot of strong leaders. It was probably one of the harder things to pick who actually wears the letters because during the expansion, that was another priority outside of good skaters was like great leadership in the locker room. And on some level, we almost had too many. So she emerged over training camp as like the right one to wear the C for the inaugural season. And then with Nurse and Claire wearing A's and a huge leadership group underneath them, like I think the locker room is really set up for success.
Just the last one for you, Cara. There are a number of players from BC in your lineup. I think 5, if I'm not mistaken, because you had a couple players signed as well who are local. What was it like to see them have that moment at home on Friday night?
It was awesome. Awesome for them. You know how many family members are showing up and fans. And it's interesting because it's pro sports, but Brian still made the decision to start almost all of them, which was really special, I thought, in that moment. But it was really cool to be able to sign Jen Gardner as one of the 5. I knew like Vancouver and home everywhere is a special place for players. So to be able to bring her back and, she called and texted me after about like how it made her dreams come true after that signing. And then to be able to get Hannah Miller. And then in the draft, like we were actually surprised that Nina was available in that spot. And she was the best player who just happened to be from there. So it always feels great. And then Katie Chan just totally killed it at camp and she earned a spot. And she's another motor. Her work ethic is off the charts. So they all earned spots to be there, which was great. But to see them and know that they got to play in front of friends and family in their hometown. And like, they probably grew up going to the fair at the PNE. And so like to go play where they, had ran around as little kids is pretty special.
That's great. Well, I know it's been a busy few months for you, Cara. Hopefully you feel like you can exhale a little bit now. You have a moment to breathe now that you've seen it all come together on the ice.
No, I wish, but we have to get through our first road trip. So it was like chunking it up, like get through preseason, make the team, let's get through our first game. And now it's like, we need to get through a road trip to kind of understand what that looks like. And then maybe we'll breathe. We're not a well-oiled machine yet, but we're working on it.
Gotcha. Well, hopefully a road trip will help with that. Thank you for making the time for us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah, so that was Cara Gardner Morey. And, obviously a lot of opinions around the expansion draft and how it played out for the original 6 teams. But, I think the way that she kind of leveraged her cap space, the way that she built this team, definitely the emphasis on speed. I mean, so far, so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think she did an excellent job building out this roster. I think there's always a bit of a risk in the draft saying like, I'm going to go for a valuable quote unquote depth player instead of, because they take a Gabby Rosenthal or a Brooke McQuigg over a Jessie Eldridge or a Julia Gosling. But those were the kind of moves that allowed them to go and sign Hannah Miller and Teresa Vanisheva and Melissa Channel Watkins, like have the money to go and add to the haul in free agency. And also the players that, these depth players she took, Gabby Rosenthal scores in the first ever game. Brooke McQuigg plays a really strong, hard on pucks game. So she got like a ton of value in every single spot where Cara Gardner Morey was trying to build this roster. So I just think it's the most complete looking forward group / roster in the league right now. And that's because of the GM.
Abby Boreen, overtime hero.
Yep.
Abby Boreen. Well, we're back in action on CBC Sports this weekend. We've got some PWHL for you. Our first PWHL game of the season, the Boston Fleet, will be in Toronto to take on the Sceptres at 2 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday. You can watch it on CBC TV or CBC Gem, and Hailey is going to be there, so you'll see her there as well. Thank you so much for joining me, Hailey, and we'll be back next week. You can catch us on the CBC Sports YouTube page. Thanks for hanging out with us.